When he wants to do your hair, he does it the best of his ability, what he thinks will look the best on you. And you know something? About 100% of the time, it comes out right. So if you're looking for that special hairstylist, I might suggest that you just go in one time, and I will guarantee you that if you go in one time to Frederick's in Sherman Oaks, you will be satisfied from then on out. Bel Air service with Sherman Oaks prices. You can't beat that. That's right on Ventura Boulevard at Van Nuys Boulevard. Frederick's Coiffures. We'll be back now with Mr. Bob Crane from KNX, Los Angeles. Well, we're not. He is.
This is Spectra Broadcasting Incorporated. And this is KVFM, the Valley's finest music station in San Fernando.
This is Basil Rathbone. Behind the Iron Curtain, millions of people like you and me are being saturated with propaganda by the communist regimes. Trapped and disheartened, they are told only what the communist bosses want them to hear. If you believe the truth has a way of winning against any odds, even against an Iron Curtain, I urge you to support Radio Free Europe through the Crusade for Freedom. Send your true dollars to Crusade for Freedom, care your local postmaster.
From high atop the world, with the beautiful blue Pacific on one side and the vast San Fernando Valley on the other, KVFM is presenting the Del Moore Show. Del's guests tonight, John Forsythe, Lyle Talbot, Joni Blackman and Joby Baker, and Bob Crane. And now here he is, his honor the mayor, Bob Crane.
Well, thank you very much.
You are of Tarzana.
Yeah, well, you didn't mention that before. You're saying this is your mayor speaking to you from high atop the hill.
Sorry about that.
I think this whole thing is a phony. This
is really a backdrop.
Why don't you be honest? You're not really on a hill. You're down at Hodie's.
That's right.
This thing was up on the hill.
It was one rain, and we're on
That's
Ventura
all it's going to
Boulevard.
take to bring it down there.
That's
on
right. I
Ventura.
keep telling them that one of these days we'll be doing it from Ventura Boulevard.
You know, we almost moved up here. About 2 years ago, we were looking at this Hawaiian Modern down the street.
Yeah.
The one that's going to have the freeway in back of it.
Oh.
And we didn't know this, you know. We came up here and said, what a great view. Wow, we were view happy then. You know, you go through that when you're out here. Being from back east, we'd only been out here a couple of years. And we went through the view bit, and we got this house, and this man is saying, now, here, it's $56,000.
Whoops.
And at the time, I think I had 500 in the bank, but I didn't tell him. You know, that's the thing. You're on radio
You're like
out
me,
here.
now you got 1,000. You've been saving.
So anyway, we're going through this whole thing. Like, we couldn't afford nothing. You know, we could afford maybe a tract home.
It's nice
and
to look at them, though.
we're looking, and he's saying 56,000. I said, it's a little bit high. He says, 48. And this is my first experience with a real estate man out here. And I said, no, a little bit high. So he said, 43. And I said, well, it's still high. You know, we were like looking in the 25 class. And he said, what would sound good to you? And I said, named a figure, 39. And he said, you've got it.
And he started at 58?
58. And I said, it's the truth. There's got to be something wrong. So we went into the house and started looking it over again. We realized that there was no, and this is terrible because these people are probably your neighbor. They're only down here, you know.
It's all right.
Could they be listening?
Oh, we hope so. They might as well know it.
We found out there was no place in the house to eat.
What do you mean? No
Really?
place to eat? No.
Do you have some place to eat in this house? I mean, this is a pretty big, I haven't seen the rest of it.
Well, right there is the dining room right there.
You have a dining room.
Yeah.
This house had no dining room, a big kitchen with all the modern conveniences. They had put so many electrical things into the house, there was no room to eat.
Oh, that's
You know, you could make a terrific meal. You could have squab under glass, all these
camping
things.
out, huh?
And then you'd have to take it out in the yard. You don't eat her out in the car. You know, you take it down the Holdies
Oh,
again.
that's beautiful.
By the way, I have a deal with them tonight.
I was wondering, you're in pretty good. You're in pretty good there for
I
some
ate there
hamburgers.
this noon time,
Oh,
the
all right.
ping and all. No, so anyway, that was one of the things, no place to eat. Another thing, we went into the bedroom and we noticed that the back, I don't know what you call it, part of the bathroom fixture, the let out, I guess you would call
The
it.
what?
The back of the, you know.
The toilet plunger, is that what you're trying
But
to
the
say?
back, it's not the plunger, the thing in the back of the bowl.
Oh, the
let out.
thing in the back, yeah, that you're
It's
leaning
usually
against.
outside the house.
Yeah,
It was in the
Yeah.
bedroom.
it was in the bedroom.
In the bedroom. I said to the guy, what is with this? I don't want any guy 3 o'clock in the morning coming to clean my lead out, you know, or whatever you call that thing. Like the old Bickerson bit. I don't want no guy messing around with my esophagus at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he said, well, you put a little receptacle, make it look like a phone. Put a little thing over, you know, and all this crazy thing. And then the topper of all, we were at a dinner one night and some people said, oh, you're looking at the Hawaiian Modern. Did they tell you about the freeway? And I said, what freeway? And they said, well, that's the reason why they're having trouble selling the house. The freeway is going to go right in back of that place down
That's
there.
why there's no room for a dining room.
Yeah, no, open your door every night to let the trucks come
the
through.
car,
and,
yeah.
But it was pretty. We never did move up here. We finally went to Tarzana, and then they made me honorary mayor, and I'm, you know, it's
And,
story of
that's,
my life.
That's by way of introduction. Good evening, Bob.
what
How are
show
you
is this
evening?
again?
Yeah, who knows? We're just here every Saturday.
You
and
had
Sunday.
quite a good. Do you usually get this many people to come out up here on
You
the
mean
hill?
the guests?
Oh, it's fantastic.
You mean you mean the on the air guests or just
Yeah,
folks?
the Yonda folks.
Oh yes.
All these people.
Oh yes. We tonight we had a little more than usual. Usually we have, well, let's see, Bobby Troop last week, Jim Backus.
Well, don't they just live up here? Isn't this
No, all
little
of those
Bel Air?
people- No,
up here?
no. You see, Bel Air is only 3 minutes from here, right over
I
the
see.
hill. And most of the people that we've had on do live in Bel Air, the Bel Air section, except now Royal Woods. We draw pretty good from those folks. Steve Allen right over here. Gail Storm we had on with us. Of course, that's where Bobby Troop with Julie London. They live over there too. But we've been pretty lucky, and I'll tell you why. It's not that I'm so delightful, you know, that they, well,
I was going to say, there must be a drawing card, you know.
you were
Who was
looking
here
for
first?
It, yeah. No, it's because I believe that I for so long did this television thing, you know, and people say,
yeah.
well, you've got to be seen, you know. So they feel that I wouldn't insult them or wouldn't hit them in the face or wouldn't ask them anything that would embarrass them.
Yeah.
And two, they come into your home. It's now, I'll bet you $50 had I asked you to come out to the station. I don't care how pretty the building is, you would have said, well, gee, Del, I'd love to do it, but, you know, it's one of those things. I know I would have said that.
Yeah.
But since now, if you'd invite me over to your show, your house, to your show,
Well,
I
see,
think
we
I'd
don't-
go for curiosity, just to see what the house looks like.
Well,
you
to
know?
tell you the truth, that's why we're here tonight.
That's it. I knew that. I knew it all the time.
My wife said, can I go see his house?
As a matter of fact, you started out of here 4 times ago, you know, to get away. You've seen the house, you wanted to leave.
That's
That's
right.
why I had to hurry to get you on the show. Let's talk a moment about your show. You're on 6, is it 6 o'clock?
6:05 to 10.
6:05 to 10.
Every morning, Monday through
What
Saturday.
happens at 6?
There's 5 minutes of news.
Oh, I'm sorry to
that
hear
sort
that,
of thing.
yeah.
Well, I'm
Is that
interrupted
Goss?
quite a bit.
Is that
no,
Goss?
No, it's Hugh McCoy at that hour.
Oh,
And then later on, it's Goss. I'm interrupted 3 or 4 times.
Well, Goss doesn't ever get up until like noon, does he?
No, he tapes his news the day before.
You're not kidding. See, Goss was a captain with me in India, and it's easy that he
Really?
can do this, you know.
Yeah, but actually, he couldn't tape the news the day before because things might happen, you know.
It would make no difference to Goss.
Frank
No,
Goss.
no difference at all.
But I have a question to ask you, Del.
Please.
Well, all right.
Go
I will.
ahead, please.
This is such an interesting home that you have. It's such an interesting show. You have such interesting friends. You've done movies and whatnot. You have contacts. Why couldn't you sell this? Not that there's anything wrong with this FM station. It's very nice. Everything's great. have you tried to sell this to an AM station?
I have already had an AM station. Now stay back. Don't attack me,
No,
boys.
I was going to say carry it on both mediums.
Well, I did
you know.
have an AM station call me one day and asked me about it, and that's as far
What
as we
station?
went with it. KLAC.
Oh, really? They called me and asked me about something.
Yeah, well,
They're always calling people.
Well, I was there for a year, on the Big Swindle when we were the Big Five. Were you in town then?
Yeah, sure.
And Cooper? Alex Cooper was
sure.
alive? Where were you then?
I was on KNX. That was my first year here. I came to town 56.
56?
Yeah. And you were
Was I
doing
there? I guess I was there.
either
Yeah,
there or
in the
you were at
afternoon.
KABC. You were at
No,
one
I've
of the
never
stations.
been. I was at KLAC.
KLAC?
I took, whose place? Jim Amici's.
That's right, sure. You were doing it, and
Yeah.
Dick Haynes and the whole
12:30 to
bit.
4 I was on. Then I
That
went
was-
KTTV at 4:30 to 6.
That was a real good
You know.
station, KLAC at the time.
At
and
that
then,
time it was.
then they got the echo in there, and it sort of, that was it.
Oh, bombed. You know what happened, really happened? Don Fedderson. You know who Don is?
Yeah,
Don
the
is a
producer.
very successful man
Yeah.
now. Has made himself $1 million, I'd say, in the last year or
Yeah.
2 years. Anyway, that's give or take $1 million. Don had been, up to that point of the echo chamber, their advisor, program advisor, and a capacity of,
Yeah.
the routine.
Yeah.
Telling him what the best formula would be and what to do. Well, Don took a trip and went away for, a month or two. And in the meantime, some smarty got into Mort Hall. You know Mort? And some smarty got in there and sold him a bill of goods on this echo bit.
Oh, that
And
was
Don
terrible.
quit.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was just awful. But I'll tell you what I did, frankly. They paid pretty good money over there, like $500 a week, and you
Yeah.
just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I took it for maybe the first 6 months, pretty good, looked pretty good. And I was doing 2 television shows a day, 5
Yeah.
days a week. Well, finally, it got so bad, the pressure got so bad for me and with the other 2 shows, I told Hall, I says, Mort, look, and I was getting all kind of trouble from the front office. Look, don't say anything funny, just get the commercials and the records on, see?
He wouldn't let you do anything.
Don't do anything. So
Oh,
finally I
really?
went to him and I told him, I said, Mort, look, let's be honest. This is a lot of money you're paying me. I'm not making, it may
Yeah.
not be for somebody else, but for me, $2,000 a month is pretty good money to sit
Yeah.
and do records and don't have to learn any lines. He said, look, just mind your own business, go on in there and read the commercials and play those records. I said, well, I'm not that type. We don't care about that. We don't care what type you are. We're selling you to the advertising agencies, and you're on the television. I says, well, why don't you go outside here, Mort, and the first guy that comes by that looks like he can breathe, grab him and bring him in. Now, he can do what I'm doing for $100 a week, and you got $400 for yourself.
Is that how Peter
You
Potter
know,
got
that's
started?
how Pete got grabbed off. So at any rate, you know how, and he let me rock on like that for about 3 months and finally let me out. I couldn't take it anymore.
Well, I happened to run into a very nice situation. I was back east doing the show that I'm doing now. I was doing it back there for 6 years in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And after I was there about 4 years, we were heard in New York, and this was to my advantage because the type show I did was a little bit different with the oddball voices and whatnot and the interviews. And I started getting a few offers, were real nice offers, and at the time I was making $500 in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
It's a lot of
week.
money, yeah.
For Bridgeport, it's a lot.
Yes, it is.
The manager of the station, though, surprisingly, was making $2,000 a week.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not a lot of money then.
No,
If he
and
was getting that kind of money.
I resented him.
The thief.
Being that sort of a guy. No, but it was a very successful station. We used to do, in 15 minutes, as many as 12, 13 commercials.
Oh, boy.
And the only way I got away with it was the fact that I did the voices in between.
Changing them.
Kitted the records and kitted the things. So anyway, to make a long story short, one day all of a sudden I get a phone call from CBS in Hollywood, and this is Bob Sutton, the program director of KNX, and he says, how would you like to come to the coast to Hollywood? And I said, let me think it over, yes. And the next thing, I brought the whole caravan out here. My wife, and son at the time, and my mother-in-law. It was sort of a package deal. And
It was your son at the time. I see. It was your
Yes.
daughter before.
no, but I have a daughter. But anyway, that's
Yeah,
getting off the subject.
yeah.
But came out, and the first thing I said, now look, I don't know you people. You evidently know me because you offered me the job. Now, am I going to be able to do exactly what I did in Bridgeport? And they said, exactly. We don't want you to change a lick. And they said, now you must understand you're taking over for a very popular fellow, Ralph Story, who's going back east to do the crooked $64,000 challenge,
Yeah.
which they knew was crooked, but they didn't want to wreck a good thing. So he did a completely different type show, but we don't care. We want to go completely the other way. Ralph was big, lovable, wonderful Ralph.
He's the Ira Cook of KNX.
Sort of,
Yeah,
yes.
I get you.
Not quite as mossy, but
yeah, I
nice.
get it.
He's
All
a
right.
round ball.
Yeah.
And I was completely the other way with all the sharp, jagged edges. And they said, let's go with it. And I said, okay, stand behind me. Let me do whatever I want. And they said, that's what we want. You go. Do what you did in Bridgeport. And we did. The first year, it was horrible. The letters, oh, boy. Go back where you come from, you idiotic imbecile. There was one phrase that always...
Idiot. Yeah, I've been getting some of your fan mail lately.
Dear idiot. They didn't even say dear. They just said idiotic imbecile. Go back where you belong, you and those crazy voices and the gags and whatnot, and the drumming. That really bothered them, too. But the idiotic imbecile, I used to get that particular card every week. And then one day they took a rating, and they found out Ralph Story's ratings were way up here, and mine were way down low, and it kept on dropping. And like I had gotten down to the -2 routine. Like nobody was listening to people knocking the show. And so anyway, the boss said, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I'll try to get the rating up. So the very next day I got on the air, and it was an old gag. I had heard somebody pull it years ago, and I decided I'd pull it. And I said, look, nobody has ever been called by the rating service. So why doesn't everybody at home call Pulse? And I had taken the time to look up, and I usually don't take time for anything, but I'd taken the time to look up on the phone book Pulse's telephone number in Beverly Hills. So I said, call this number, and it was Bradshaw or Webster, I forget what it was. And we'll get the rating up. It's a great idea. Everybody call them. And the people were calling in and saying, what a great idea. We're calling. We're going to get your rating up. And the boss came in at 7:30 in the morning. He comes running in. He says, you idiotic imbecile. And I found out who was writing the cards, And that made me a little insecure. And that's how Peter Potter got started.
It's a funny story. That's
But
a funny switch.
the rating never went up.
And you're still there.
And no, I'm off. No.
Yeah, that's the mystery. You're
No, the ratings have gone up.
Yeah.
Things are looking good. But the main point of the thing is that KNX has allowed me to do exactly what I want. We kid the commercials. We butcher a few here and there. But they've stood behind me. And we haven't, and I knock on wood, and I don't think there's any wood in this
Yeah,
house.
there's a
It's
little
all
over here.
money.
Yeah, there's a little over here. It's all cement slab.
Yeah, with dollar bills
That's
in it.
it, yeah.
What was it? You interrupted my thought.
No, you were talking about why they stand behind you.
Yeah,
and
because
they're-
it's money.
Yeah.
They are making good money, and I'm making good money, and the sponsors are happy, and they feel that if there is a sponsor that will kick, and occasionally we get one that resented something, they will argue from my standpoint, which is very
That's a
strange.
switch,
Not many
yeah.
stations do this.
No, that's right.
And I remember Alex Cooper, the late Alex Cooper, when I first came to town, he went, I guess, to Mort Hall and said, this fella Crane's doing, I'd like to do the commercials, and I don't know whether it was Mort or who it was, said to Alex, look, in the same routine, I remember Alex was telling me one day we met, he says, how do you get away with it? I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, they
Yeah.
do the commercials, play the records, and that'd be nice, Well, that's the way radio is nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
What else did you want to talk about?
And that's why donkeys were born.
It's 15 minutes
Actually,
before 12, friends.
now to get back to your original question about the AM, do you have any good ideas for us? Let us know in case you...
I was saying to my wife that...
We ought to go home.
No. I said, I wonder how much he wants for the place.
With the microphones, we'll sell them.
No, I was thinking it would be an awfully good show to listen to on AM and FM. And no, I don't have any particular ideas, but I was just wondering, have you had approached... you yourself
the
had
one.
approached-
No, I have never.
Have you approached KNX?
No, they've always been sort of like the Chicago Tribune to me, straight-laced. You're the only one that I've heard since Steve Allen that got away with that. And you have one guy on there that does this opinion, please. You ever hear him?
Mel Baldwin. And
He does this. Let me give you a little
Thank
one of
very
him.
much.
Yeah, let me give you a little impression of him. Guy calls up on the phone. He says, "Opinion, please," with a voice not quite as lively as that.
Yeah.
"Opinion, please." And the guy says, "I think the United States ought to be blown up, and they ought to put a bomb in the White House and kill off everybody in the whole place and get all of us communists to feel the same way about it." He talks for like 2 minutes of his 3. Baldwin comes in and says, "Now let me understand you. You mean that they should put the bomb? They should put the bomb in the house and kill the president and kill the other 30 people." "I see, sir." Well, your time is up, sir. Thank you. And your opinion. Opinion, please.
Well, that's
The guy, I don't know how he, is that the beauty of the show?
You know, the funny thing is, Mel was brought down.
I'd climb right to the microphone and go looking for this guy, but he says, no, in other words, to put the bomb in the White House or on top. Which one was it that you wanted to do?
The funny thing is, Mel Baldwin was originally brought down, as long as you brought up the subject of Mel was brought down to replace Steve Allen when Steve went back east to do the crooked $64,000 show.
And they had a good thing going for him.
Yeah, and no, I don't know what crooked show he was being sent back for, but CBS is always reaching to the coast here and taking people back east to do crooked shows.
Yeah.
They're arranging one for me now. But anyway, when Allen went back, they got Bob Shepard or somebody to replace Steve Allen. I wasn't out here at the time.
I was. I was one of those that tried for it.
Really? What happened?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, Mel was one of them that finally was brought down from Seattle or somewhere.
Mitchell was the guy's name.
Bob Mitchell?
Mitchell.
Yeah. I think he's changed it since then.
Yeah,
I met him the other
an
night.
actor now or something.
Yeah, I met him the other night. Very nice fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Has a voice
Swell,
very similar to yours.
Swell boy. Yeah, nice voice. Whiskey sort of a voice. Yeah.
Anyway, Mel was brought down from up north to do the show because he's a funny guy. So it ends up, that show went off, and American Airlines came in and brought their Music Till Dawn show with them and hired Mel to do the show, and his entire job consists of, good evening, this is Music Till Dawn.
That's it.
And then the music continues, and Mel's a funny guy.
Only way to travel.
He's a very funny guy. He wrote some routines for Stan Freeberg's radio show. I don't know whether you remember the routine, Old Man River, where the network censor comes in and says, you can't say old, get it off, will offend the old people, say
Funny.
elderly.
Yeah, it's a funny routine.
That's Mel's routine.
Well, he's into a pattern now where he could MC at a funeral parlor, I'll tell you that.
Well, but this is it. Mel always seems to end up on these programs where he has to use this funereal tone, I guess.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Good evening. Opinion, please.
Yes, opinion, please.
And
And that's it.
Mel off the air talks like this.
Well, I don't understand it.
I meet him in the hall and I want to kiss him, Except that he wears heels and he's much taller.
Yeah. His earrings kept getting in your eye, I know. Well, I hope you'll both be very happy. And say hello.
Yeah, there, you're coming
Say
in
hello
loud
to
and
Mrs.
clear.
Baldwin
Yes.
for me when you get home.
Yes, all right. Now, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I only once in a while do I catch you because I'm not fortunate enough to get out on the freeway with the people going to work in that mad rush.
Listen at home.
I don't get up that early. You see, that was the point. Only when I go to make a television film, which lately hasn't been too frequent.
I made one a couple of weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm
Let's
not allowed
talk
to do
about that.
television. I am not allowed to do television. This is a ridiculous thing. They put into my contract when I was back east. Actually, what loused me up is the CBS contract. The very first clause says you're not allowed to read the rest of the contract.
That'll do it.
And so at the end of the contract, it said you will not do television unless we give you the approval. And we're not going to give it. What they had, and we're not going to give it in real small print. I thought it was trademark, They had written,
Presto Music Company.
they had drawn lines around it. Anyway, I signed this thing quick, because a lot of money, and I figured, oh boy. And I've been out here 4 years, and every time somebody calls up and says, Crane, we think that there might be something in television for you. Can you do it? I have to say no. Then finally, about 6 months ago, and I make this very short now because it is getting late and we're
20 minutes
going.
overtime. Don't worry. We're going to go right on into your show.
I received a phone call from Max.
Senate.
No.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. No.
That's.
I'm not usually ever funny with my guests. I'm not usually ever funny, but go on.
I've heard the show.
You got the line?
No, you
That's
are
all right.
funny. But
Yes,
Max
thanks a
Schulman.
Oh, yes.
Writer
yes,
of
I
Dobie
wrote
Gillis and all
on
those
that,
things. He called up and said, Bob, I'm a listener from back east when I used to live in Westport. I used to listen to you in Bridgeport and whatnot. Would you be available to do a new show? We're going to shoot a pilot and whatnot. And I said, who's the pilot, And it was just a bad joke, and I won't go any
It's
further.
all right. Wasn't bad enough.
So
use
they
it
hired
next
me
week.
to shoot a pilot. No, so I went over there and I talked with him. I said, look, I'd love to do it. Could you change my name? Because I'm not allowed to do it as Bob Crane.
They said they'd rather.
So then he
Why
said,
don't we do a Condoleezza and Grant? Go ahead.
he said, get your teeth cap. No, he said, why not? What is this stupid rule? And it is a stupid rule.
Yeah, it is.
I'm saying that. It is a stupid rule that doesn't allow me to do television.
That's Marvin Quagmire's voice, friends.
I'm not allowed to do that on my show in the morning. I have to,
You're
get
not-
around, but don't talk about your personal things. I've told you about my family.
Then they don't stand behind you all the way, do they? Now it comes out. You really
No, they're
hate
terrible.
CBS.
They're terrible.
Back
It's
to
a terrible place to work.
Back
No.
to WCCO if you're not careful.
They won't allow me to do television. So he calls up and he says, we'd like to shoot the pilot. It's a funny thing, and I know you'll be fine. It's the lead in the thing. You're going to be a harassed husband. You live in Westport, Connecticut. You're a commuter. Your wife spends a lot of money and whatnot. Do you think you can do it? I said, I'd love to do it, but I can't. So I go away. He calls 2 days later. He says, look, this will not tie you up 3 days a week, which the other would have. This is the co-star, like in the thing. You will be the second husband. Now, this will tie you up only 6 out of the first 13. I went, the boss, don't you read the contract, yeah. So finally, that down the drain. So finally, he calls up and he says, Bob, we wrote another thing in him. Can you at least shoot the pilot with us? That's all. Just do the first one.
Can you come over and say hello?
Just do the first. We just want to see what you look like on film.
Yeah.
So I went into the boss and he said, all right, as long as this does not commit us, go ahead, shoot the pilot. And I shot the pilot, and it's a 45-second bit where it's the same really, boom, boom, and you get them out of there quick, and I'm under no obligation, and whatnot, and they never sold the pilot.
And that's the way it stands now. See, they could have let you make the whole thing and pick up some more bucks. I'm making a comeback from pilots, I mentioned.
That's all I've done. And Joan Harrison, who hired Joby, I keep on thinking Dobie Gillis, everything I did. Joby Baker. Dobie Baker. Joby did a thing for Hitchcock, a thing a few weeks ago, which was real great. And I had been called. Now, these are the type people that call in this town, which is the great thing about working in Hollywood. You get some great opportunities, as you know, which you couldn't get elsewhere. I met Joan Harrison. She says, I'm a listener. I'd like to use you in a film. They finally hired Dick York to do it. And it was a very funny script about 20 years from now, how when people get so old, they're going to be killed.
That was great.
There's going to be an agency to kill the old people. It's a funny thing.
Yo, that is funny. Let's kill off all of the old people.
So Joan Harrison calls me and says, come over. I want to meet you. I think you're a funny guy. And I go over and she says, you're right for it. And I said, right for what? And she says, it's got to be a light character. We don't want this to seem somber and whatnot. And
Kill him off with a smile,
she
right?
hasn't told me the script yet. And I says, I'm your boy, razzle dazzle. I'll get right in there and I'll really punch. And so she says, now, this is the script, just made for you. You kill old people. And I look at her, why, kill old people? I'm killing them in the morning now, with our listeners. So
Kill a few young ones.
So anyway, they wouldn't let me do it. The CBS said, don't do it.
I would quit and go to work for us, that's all. We can get you on out here in the
They
valley.
won't let me do anything. But anyway, that's the problems of working in this town. I wish I could do my show from my home.
You just have. We've taped this for you for Monday. Bob, we would like very much to thank you, as we have our other guests, for being nice enough to spend a little time with us. And I'm glad that you like the house. And there is an eating area here at any time that you like to bring your lovely wife.
The let out?
The let out, it's right in the back there. You can't, and we know the thing I know what you mean. What do they call that thing?
A toilet.
Oh, I meant the let out part of it. Is that a northern expression? Is that the
let out? I don't know.
The flushing place.
No, it isn't that.
No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we were going to say thank you.
Imagine somebody tuning in late and saying, this is wonderful, a plumbing show.
And nobody knows where the toilet is. Bob, thank you so very much for being with us. A lot of good luck.
Thank you, Peter.
It's all right. Exactly.
No, really, I want to say, all kidding aside, and I know I want to make this quick. On behalf of my wife, you have a beautiful home.
Thank you,
And it's
Bob.
very seldom that a radio performer gets to appear on another radio performer's show.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's a pleasure, sir.
Mayor is very nice.
Mayor of Tarzana, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Crane. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call him every day or so and invite him to have a big part in a pilot I'm doing, because I know he can't take it. I'm going to say, I got a part for you, Bob, that's tremendous. I dig you every morning on the freeway. It's beautiful. How did we get through that whole interview without mentioning Whitting Hill? You notice how he stayed clear of it? You notice he didn't even think about it or bring it up? Now he's thought of something.
I believe you.
Oh, come back, Bob. Well, we have run over, and I must apologize to the people paying the bill up to midnight. I would like to thank you nice people at home. You have certainly been wonderful. Frank Hollingsworth, you have been a doll, as usual. You're fired. And Don Pedretti, thank you so very much. See, we got Bob Crane for you boys, right? They're fans of yours, Bob. I tried to tell them differently, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, sincerely, thanks to John Forsythe, thanks to Lyle Talbot, Joe B. Baker, Joni Blackman, and, of course, our friend, Mr. Bob Crane of KNX. Listen to his program on Monday, friends, at 6:05, immediately following the first interruption. And until next time again, which will be tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. This is Del Moore. Thank you very much, and thank Jerry Lewis for helping us I think he helped us for the first half hour. And this is Del Moore reminding you that tomorrow is worship day for some people. Makes no difference where you go. You'll never pay the good Lord everything you owe him, but you can make a down payment somewhere tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
This is Spectra Broadcasting Incorporated. And KVFM, the Valley's finest music station in San Fernando.